We're here at the Barbaria Ranch on the outskirts of Santa Fe at the end of the old Santa Fe Trail, which used to be a barber shop. And there's actually a story that the guys used to come from Mississippi or wherever they were coming from on the Santa Fe Trail and get a shave and then go freshly shaven and happy to town. The owners wanted to create a motif for the light fixtures that would go along with the idea of the barbershop. The two original rooms of the barbershops are still part of this ranch. And so the idea was to have a barber pole, like a double helix spiral around the glass center as a motif for the ceiling lights and the wall sconces. So they gave me a sketch that I worked from, and you can see it. It's very rudimentary sketch. It gives definitely the idea of what they wanted, but I had to flesh it out and fill it in with the craftsmanship that was required to make it a nice-looking finished piece. Finally, we came up with this design, a double helix with glass hand-blown into it, and then this cover at the top to top it off, and at the bottom I tried to use as many traditional techniques as I could, like punching holes, piercing it through with kind of nail-shaped spikes, using a tapered shape of a pipe that would be welded in from the inside so you don't see the welds on the outside, and then a raised backplate against the wall, hammered and grooved.
Helmut is always thinking of the artistic way of doing things, and the crafts way, which is the old way of doing connections and ends of pieces and all of that, which is, I think, is very important. This is what gives, life to the piece. The portal is the life of the house. I mean, that's where. That's why it was so important to build that portal, not only for the entrance to the house, but to actually give a space that you can go out to from the inside of the house, because that's the place that you want to be when you're in a house like that. You don't want to be inside, you want to be outside, which is so beautiful all the time.
For the entrance portal, Jeff wanted something really special, so he designed these really, really heavy doors. This portal would look like the portal of an old monastery, that as if it has been there for hundreds of years, with these really heavy door knockers.
It also is something that people can touch when they go by, and it talks to them about actually somebody spending time doing this piece.
It's all heavy hardware for people to feel safe.
My perception is that it's about the raw goods. It's not necessarily about the tradition of working with let's say the metal, but I've watched Helmut try to find some metals that would be able to reflect the needs of this job, and he's taking metals from San Francisco, from different places where people had stored old iron.
And so I have my stash of wrought iron here, and I got this a long time ago, bought a ton of it from a place in California, a living museum. And then I have this stash here, and it's they're old bars from a fence. And the nice thing about this is that it's 100 years old or older, and it has a fibrous structure.
In this particular housing market, there's a huge effort to make things look hundreds of years old.
For special customers, I put it in the bath of acid, and to bring out the fibrous structure from the inside, and it looks really nice. So when I made this thing, I used mainly the wrought iron from my stash of old wrought iron, and put it in a bucket with muriatic acid. But when I came back the next day, it had eaten it out really seriously. But then, since the more rustic, the more they loved it, I thought, oh, I'll just present it to them. And they loved it.
He's working with a material that has its own personality. It's a very rugged material, and he's finding ways of communicating with that material in a way that I can't even imagine.
So I have my special concoction here, a mixture to treat iron. And it's kind of like shining your shoes. You can get away with not doing it, but if you want it to look really nice, then you do it more often. It's linseed oil and beeswax with turpentine as a solvent base. And sometimes I let the piece catch some rust first. After I install the piece, I tell the customer, let it sit for a season, let the weather do its thing, and then call me in a year, in a half a year, after the rainy season, and I'll come and do the coat for free, so that you don't prevent the rust patina from actually building up, but you let it build up and then make it look nice with the linseed oil and the beeswax. It looks a little bit like wood or like leather.
One more thing about craft. Craft doesn't stand alone. It's usually something that's applied. And so the metalwork in this job is a perfect example of craft integrated into a whole. And when I walk through this job, the metalwork doesn't just stand out like some shining object, something special amongst the architecture, even though it's just incredible. The work itself is incredible. It fits in a way that it's like a good pair of shoes for me. And this is my understanding of good craft.
And in the back courtyard of the La Barbaria, there's that beautiful courtyard on the back, and the stonework at the rear of the property holding back the earth, with the stairway going up.
For this area, the architect wanted me to make something specifically not forged, something specifically low-key, low-profile, ranchy, as they call it. My thought was, since of course it is reinvented, we're not really on the ranch trying to make shift, to use rebar and then put the rebar in the press and spin it with a hydraulic motor so it gets gnarly and twisted like rope. This is what rebar used to look like in the 20s. Pretty much just a flat design to not attract too much attention. And it is meant to complement the beautiful rock work of the dry stacked rock wall that leads up into the garden area here.
The fact that it blends in so beautifully and doesn't have such a strong ego on its own is the special part of Helmut's abilities.
I think that people appreciate when they see something that they know is not machine made, that is made by hand, that is made by a person. And I think that when they see some piece like this, that they feel intrinsically a part of that. And I think that's important.